know what today is. Back for another episode. Let's hang out. It's Wednesday. We're back again for another episode of Let's Hang Out, guys. How's it going? How's your week? How've things been? Made a couple changes here to the audio setup. Hopefully it's going to turn out pretty good. Hopefully you guys are hearing some kind of a difference. We'll see how it is by the end of it. As always, please feel free to join the conversation using the hashtags Letshangoutpod. You guys can find us on socials by searching at Letshangoutpod. We're pretty much everywhere at this point. So today I'm here to talk to you guys about something that I feel really good about. I don't follow it always, so it sounds kind of hypocritical to be like, well, I'm so good at it, but it's, we're all good at things and we have things we struggle with. But one of the things I want to talk to you guys about that I've had a lot of weird discussions with over the last few weeks, ironically, is planning. Goal planning, scheduling, things like that. And just kind of how I value it compared to other things. And that'll make sense here in a second. But goals. So everybody makes goals. Everybody has goals of some kind. If you don't have a goal, you should probably stop and think about one. And it's, again, that's person to person how you want to understand that and do with that what you will. But goals are something that I've always really wanted to focus on. They drive me in a direction to something that I want. Something that I want to achieve. Something that I want to reach, complete. And it gives me that map, that roadmap that I want to get from point A to point B, and it helps. It helps to have a goal. And I know that we had this drilled into us in school for years, and a lot of us kind of roll our eyes when we hear about it. But using SMART measurements, SMART goals, it really does matter. And I hate to be that guy who's like, yeah, school things and whatever. But it's true. And it's become more and more clear over the years to me that SMART goals or goal setting, goal planning really does make a difference. Because you can say you want to do whatever, but unless you start putting together a plan to achieve it, you really just kind of have this thing on the board. It's just a thought. And I'll use this podcast as an example, just to kind of keep things real, keep it relevant. So when I came up with the idea of the pod, I wrote down what I wanted to achieve with it. I wanted to have a casual listening podcast for anybody to join in and to kind of relate to it and sometimes feel like they can be involved and just something fun. Like there were very broad pieces to the goal and what I wanted to achieve. So as things went on, as the planning went on for the podcast, I started to narrow down what that meant. I got a lot more specific on what I wanted for the show, what I wanted for episodes, what I wanted for content. It was the details pieces of it. And it was really getting into like time frame of the episodes. Do I want to have guests or not? Do I want to pre-plan my episodes? Do I want to have a script? All of those little things. Now that I'm episodes into this now, we're in the double digits for episodes. I'm really understanding that those SMART goals really did help to get me from point A to point B. And it's something I had to appreciate, and I feel like it's something that was worth discussing. So planning ahead. Planning is something that I strongly encourage you to do for everything. Spontaneity is fine. It is something that it's going to be a person-to-person thing. Spontaneous planning drives me nuts, but some people prefer that. Some people are good at that. I don't really mesh well with the spontaneity, but I get it and I can work with it in some cases, like with my wife and trying to come up with fun plans. I'd rather be spontaneous with those kind of things and come up with something fun. But when it comes down to big projects, when it comes down to vacations and things that we want to achieve, I like sitting down and coming up with a plan, coming up with kind of just even a rough outline of what we're looking to do. My family is big on planning ahead. We've got the kids kind of in that same boat. My high schooler is finally starting to understand that making plans and actually having the details for the plans makes a big difference. Great example, recently he was trying to figure out how to hang out with his girlfriend. You know, it's not the same as it was when we were kids. You can't just, not for everybody, you can't just walk down the road and hang out with each other and do this, that, and the other. Especially in high school, because obviously there's a lot of kids from a lot of different areas in the city. So they're in 2 different parts of town. So they were trying to figure out a day to hang out and how they were going to make it work. And he kept coming up to us and asking, hey, can we hang out on this day? And our answer was yes, of course, absolutely. When and where? And we didn't get a when and a where until, I want to say like 2 days before, 2 or 3 days before. And we'd already told him we were going to make it work. We'd kind of sort of cleared off our schedule, and then things happened and we had a doctor's thing we had to do that day. So we still made it work, but it was that lack of important details and not knowing, you know, when he wanted to do this and where, whether it was going to be him going to her place or her coming to our place, which by the end of it ended up being that we did both. He went over there for a bit, they came over here for a bit, and then we took her home. It worked out. It was fun. And it was a great opportunity because talking with him afterwards, getting to understand, you know, like, this is why we ask for details. This is why we plan. And it's constantly reminding him to take the time not to be so caught up in the excitement to do something that you forget to plan it. And I think it's starting to kind of really click. You know, SMART goals, for those that don't know what that acronym is, or when I say a SMART goal, you're like, oh, I don't understand what that means. It's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based, time-oriented. So those 5 facets are what drive your goals. You put those pieces in place and you essentially have your goal built. What is it you want to achieve? How are you going to know if you achieve it? Is it something you can actually achieve and reach? Does it matter to what you're doing right now or what you're trying to get to? And how long do you need for it? And those are just simple questions. And as we talk about planning, a lot of that can go into learning. I'm big with learning. I'm big with wanting to always learn something new. Whether or not it's going to be relevant later on, I don't know yet at that point. But I love learning new things. I love learning new processes and how to take something I'm doing and improve on it. And goals, goal setting, goal planning, things like that, that's all stuff that I can continually learn how to improve. Lifelong learning is a thing. If you're not learning every week, at least something new. You know, I don't understand how somebody can go through and just not want to learn anything new. Because it's that pursuit of knowledge, it's that pursuit of skill building that makes us better. It improves us, it improves our life, it improves what we can do. Learning new things, knowledge and skills, learning the new things help you to achieve your goals. Learning how to manage your time and stay productive, and how to break apart your day, how to allocate time for each individual thing you want to do. It's how you improve what you're doing. You learn how to manage your time more and more, because you may set something up and it might not be achieved right away. You might not be able to complete what you wanted to do in the time frame, and then you learn, okay, I need to set aside more time to do this, or maybe I need to do this thing first before I do the thing I did first last time. But they all work together. All those pieces start working together. Do you guys ever sit there and come up with a plan and you kind of tell yourself like, okay, dishes, great example. So I'm going to take care of all the big things first because the big things get out of the way and then I have just the little stuff to work with. And then as you're getting through those little things, as you're getting through the plates and the bowls and the cups, you're getting down to the silverware and you're just like, oh God, I don't want to do the silverware. It's so much. So then the next time you do it, you decide, oh, I'm going to start with the silverware because it's tedious and there's a bunch of it. And then I can finish with the big stuff. And then by the time you're at the end there, you're like, this is just, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, it's a process of learning what works for you. Maybe you're the guy who likes to do the big things first and finish with the little stuff. Maybe you're the person who likes to do the little stuff first and then finish with the big thing. And that's okay either way. Whatever works for you to get to that end point of when things are done, when you've reached your goal. And it's trial and error. A lot of it comes down to really trying new things, you know? Because you don't learn unless you try. You truly will not learn how to do something until you try to do it. And that can be everything from planning to doing the actual thing, whatever it is. If you try to plan and it's not working and things aren't lining up, it's okay to stop and reflect on what you're doing and think back on the project at hand, what you're capable of doing, what's your strongest area, and then what you need to work on, the areas that need the most help. It's okay to look at those and kind of be aware of the patterns that are out there that you're doing. Are you repeating the process that's not working? Have you tried something new? You've got to be willing to try, and you've got to be willing to learn. So, again, back to planning. I like to be ahead of the game. I like to have all of my stuff figured out at least a week ahead. And now some people, that's crazy to have stuff planned a week ahead. Some people think it's insane that I have plans a month ahead. You know, I genuinely try to be ahead of the game because I don't like to be surprised when things come up. I also like to have the ability that when I have things planned ahead, I'm prepared and have given myself time if something does pop up. You know, if an emergency comes into play and I have my day figured out, as long as it's not something super important that I need to be part of, I can usually move it around. You know, and it helps. For me, having those week ahead notices on things, whether it be work projects, whether it be something for the kids in school, making plans with friends and family, like just having that week notice takes a little bit of the stress away from me. You know, I have a hangout with my friends that I've been playing games with for the last almost 10 years. We just recently started meeting up in Vegas every year, and we start planning that 9 months in advance. You know, we get together, we do our hangout, we laugh, we talk, and during the last little bit of the visit and hanging out, we're talking about, okay, when do we want to meet next year? And then we kind of take the time off, and then we'll eventually get back on it and start talking and planning. So that's a big thing. That's a trip to Vegas. So having that planned out a year in advance makes sense. I've got my kids' birthdays planned out typically a month ahead. I like to have everything scheduled out, invitations sent out a month ahead. That way I don't have to stress so much about the last minute, what day, what time, those things. I can focus for the next month on actually getting the party put together and getting all the details, the cake, if we're doing cake, cupcakes, ice cream, snacks, food, whatever. You know, that's the time to work on that. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like dealing with things that are spontaneous, or that I don't get myself involved with things that happen on the spot, because that's unavoidable. Things are going to happen and I have to make changes on the fly. But for what I can control and what I can do, I like to plan ahead. And for me, I look at it with setting the goals and coming up with these plans and things. I feel like that for me is a way to challenge myself to stay organized, because that's something I struggled with for a long time in my teens. And even in my early 20s, it was the organization piece of it. And, you know, becoming a dad in my early 20s really kind of just hammered down the point that I've got to get things under control. I've got to be able to do all these things for other people and still have time for what I want to do. You know, so I embrace the challenge of having a plan and still being somewhat flexible. And I feel like doing these things is a way to really just grow as an individual. You know, I constantly tell my kids, if you're not doing something with a plan, then what are you doing? Because chaos can't get things done. Sometimes, in rare occasions, it can. But if you're not working with a plan, if you're not working with at least the end game and how you're going to get there and how you think you're going to get there, you're just going to be running in circles. You've got to be willing to grow and change. You've got to be willing to believe that your abilities, what you're capable of doing, is enough to get you to that end game, to that end point. And if you really try and it doesn't work, that's okay, because then you can work on improving what you know to get you there. You develop your skills, you develop the mentality needed to get from point A to point B to create a plan and make it happen. We learn from our failures. We learn to adapt to new situations and new challenges as they come up. Not enough people embrace the positive attitude of challenge, because you have to challenge yourself. So for me, the big thing with planning, the big thing with making plans and having goals is that it teaches you to not just go into everything blindly. There are, again, situations and circumstances where going into a situation blindly or unknowing to what you need is unavoidable. You're gonna have things that pop up that you're not gonna be prepared for. You're not gonna know what to do. But that's the adaptation. Let me slaughter that word. That is the ability to adapt, the adaptations that we make on the fly for situations. It's okay to have those, and it's okay to learn and grow from them. Not everything can be planned. I will 100% agree to that statement and stand on that ground that not everything can be planned for. But if you built yourself a good support system with friends and family and anybody who helps you to reach your goals, to help you overcome your challenges, if you have a great support system and work to improve yourself, work to improve the knowledge you have, the skills you have, the drive to get things done, your planning will get better. Your goals will become easier to put together, and how you're going to get to those goals. And the biggest piece of those at the very end of it all is to have a sense of gratitude, to be thankful. Acknowledge what you did and who helped you along the way to get there. I put out an episode 10. I took the time, didn't do a major topic, and I made sure that I thanked every one of my listeners, every one of my guests, because without you guys, achieving the goal of this podcast could not happen. Yes, I could sit here and record episodes day after day and produce everything and post it online, but without listeners, it's just an audio piece sitting out there in the world. So I thank you guys for helping me to turn my dream project into something. And I hope that you guys understand. It's okay to plan. It's okay to plan. It's okay to have goals. Please keep making plans to achieve your dreams. Have more dreams that you want to reach. And once you reach one, come up with another. Come up with a plan. Make it something you can do. Just keep going. I believe in you guys. I think you're going to do great. And if you're one of those that doesn't like to plan, that's okay. I hope you reach your goals in whatever way you're doing it. It's not for me. I can't do the random, just make it happen kind of plans. So if that's you, more power to you. But I've talked your ears off a bit today. I hope you guys learned something. I hope everybody had a chance to kind of really think about how they go about coming up with their own goals and planning and all that kind of stuff. If you guys have anything you want to talk about regarding goals, planning, or just want to have somebody to listen to kind of run through things, reach out. I'm on the socials at Letshangoutpod. Use the hashtag Letshangoutpod to talk about this episode and any future episodes you guys might want to hear. Throw out your suggestions. I'm always watching. I'm always reading. And as always, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out today. I will catch you in the next episode. We'll see what's going on. Until next time, guys, have a great week.